Sleeping Around the podcast.
Yes, Sleeping
Matthew,
Around the podcast.
Sleeping Around with Dr. Brandon. Dr. Brandon, that's me.
And I'm Matthew.
And Matthew.
That's right. So first of all, welcome. I know that we've been talking about this launch for quite a while, and our producer, Handsome Dan, came up with this amazing idea that, hey, how about this? We'll get together and we'll talk about a little bit how this idea came up, talk about the guests that we've already shot so far, and kind of give kind of a sneak peek into what you guys can enjoy here on the YouTube channel.
We got to talk about how this started. We got to talk a little bit about our history. And, you know, our history is relatively short.
Yeah, actually. But I love our story.
You know, it's a good story. So obviously we're both involved in sleep. We're passionate about sleep.
So how Brandon and I met, but my background is definitely involved in many different areas. I was an ex-athlete like Brandon.
Baseball, right?
That's right. I played baseball.
Yep.
Brandon played football. And I work for a company called SomnoMed. I started this job a little over a year ago. We're in September right now. And my boss at the time, Lewis Meyer, said, Matthew, I have been trying to get to this person in Austin. He's awesome. He's amazing. I can't seem to connect. I would love for you to meet this guy. And so and I have it down, 8 months ago, I came to Austin. I live in Lafayette, Louisiana, and had dinner with you and Jessica and Lewis.
Yep.
And we got introduced at what restaurant?
Eddie V's.
Eddie V's.
Now, SomnoMed.
Yes.
They're big.
My company.
Big boy on the block.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around a while. What do they do?
So SomnoMed, we sell what I like to call an oral device. Before I came to the company, we called those appliances. Yep. Where I came from in the sleep world, appliances were dishwashers and all that stuff and refrigerators. But no, my background was with Philips. And so I got recruited to come over to this company called SomnoMed with the promise of a new vision. And part of that vision was, hey, you know, in the past, we've only called on dentists. This is what we do. And kind of my background with sleep and my Rolodex for all of you people my age, that I knew a bunch of physicians, so neurologists, ENTs, and all that. But I was just so passionate about health and fitness and sleep. So when we sat down to dinner, I thought for sure right away we'd hit it off. We'd be long lost brothers, and I couldn't be further from the truth.
Well, yeah, unknowingly. So, you know, little did you know, you were kind of walking into a little bit of a shitstorm.
Had no idea.
With kind of the customer service, maybe, or the lack of customer service that we'd had from the company. And,
That's
you
right.
know, I think companies go through changes and companies go through these things.
Right.
And we had run into some issues. So I'll be really just frank with you. Yep. When I met you, we were coming off of some customer service issues.
Right.
So I wasn't impressed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we met, we walked away. I remember walking Brandon out to his awesome truck and
Sammy.
And I said, you know, this is what I'm going to do for you. And he went, okay, whatever. So how did this podcast happen? I can honestly tell you that through the 8 months that Brandon and I have known each other, we, first of all, became respectful of each other in our business acumen. So what Brandon was just saying, I got to see his model up close. And I can honestly tell you, brother, from the 7 states that I cover, yours is hands down the best. And I respected you from the point that when you told me you were going to do something, you did it and you had follow through. And it's something that we shared. And I think you could say the same for me. But we would get together and we started a friendship of talking about our passion. And our passion is sleep, but obviously outside of our kiddos. But we shared a lot of similarities besides us being dumb jocks. We love music. We like spirits. And as our friendship grew and as our trust grew with each other and our friendship grew, one night, again, over a beautiful bottle of 8 Years in the Desert.
8 Years in the Desert. It was at least one bottle. I don't know if we made it to 2 or not.
I think it was one bottle that
one of us
threw out the idea of a podcast. We still argue back and forth who came up with it.
Let me tell you what happened that night, in case you forgot.
Okay. Again, it could have been more than one bottle.
So, you're right. We started to develop some trust and working together from a business standpoint. And as we got to know each other, I think we started to like each other more. You know, we developed a little bit of a friendship.
I would say that.
So you said, hey, I'm in town.
Yep.
Let's talk business.
Yep.
As is your job, typical of you. And I'm thinking, man, I'm pretty busy, but all right, I'll make time. And I'm hungry. So let's do this. So let's go to Fleming's.
Yep.
And I said, let's go to Fleming's. Alyssa, can you set this up? Alyssa's my lovely personal assistant.
Amazing person.
Without Alyssa, there's no way my life runs.
Without Alyssa, there's no podcast.
It's probably not. You're right.
Okay.
So I say, Alyssa, set it up. Alyssa sets it up, puts a calendar, sends an email with the address and a calendar invite with the address.
Yep.
And I show up at Fleming's at 7:00, which is the time we're designated to have dinner. It's our reservation. Right. I walk in. I say, I'm here meeting somebody. Reservation. Checks me in. He says, nobody else is here.
Yep.
I sit down and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe he's just late. Maybe he ran into traffic. Maybe, I don't know. So I better text him. I better call him. I text him. And turns out Austin has 2 Flemings.
Yep. And I'm at the bar waiting for him early as usual. And I'm like, where are you? You're like, I
got the wrong fucking Flemings.
Yep. So I jumped in an Uber and got there 20
So I'm pretty
minutes.
I'm like, oh man, I don't know this guy. Like I kind of like him. We've connected he is improving some things on the business side.
Some things.
But man, late to dinner, like, I don't know if I can handle this. So he's like, no, I'll be right there.
And I'm never late anywhere.
He's like, I'll be right there. I'm coming down. I'm in an Uber. I'm coming down. So I'm like, okay. So I have another cocktail.
Yes, you did. That's right.
And which maybe it wasn't 2 bottles of wine. Maybe it was the however many cocktails waiting for your ass.
Old fashions or whatever.
And old fashions. And then we have this amazing wine and this amazing meal. Yep. And we're eating a delicious steak and we're talking and we're just, we talked a little bit of business, but we started talking life. We started talking music. Who do we like? What stuff do we do? What do we do with our kids?
That's right.
All this kind of stuff. And we kept talking about this. And at one point or another, I don't know if it was you, I don't know if it was me, but somebody said, we should do a podcast.
See, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember who. Well, and it was funny because during this time, I'd been texting you different wines. I'd been texting you different musicians. And during this dinner, you're like, man, I saw this. The last concert I saw before COVID, there was this awesome guy named Mark Broussard. And I just started grinning. And again, Brandon just told you kind of the history of the company I work at, but also with me. And I said, well, I know Mark Broussard. And he's like, whatever.
No way.
So I actually called Mark that night. And Mark Broussard is going to be our first guest who we've already recorded.
Yep.
And I will tell you that the podcast grew and grew and grew from the idea. And if you know anything about Brandon and I, people who are watching this who know us, when we put our mind to something,
it happens.
That's right.
It happens.
And I can honestly say that it has been such an awesome experience. We have been filming. We're so excited for this to launch, but none of this would be possible. Believe it or not, we did say Alyssa, but without Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan came into the picture, had no idea what he was getting into.
And Miss Tiffany Stratton, who is a DDS dentist down in San Antonio, who is also one of our guests that we've already shot, was the one who introduced us.
Yeah, so it's funny because the next morning, I don't know if I told you this, but I woke up the next morning and I said,
after hanging out with Handsome Dan?
No.
This
was the night we talked about the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We had this idea, we're going to do a podcast, and we talked about it at dinner.
We did.
And we finished the bottle of wine.
One.
And we talked about this podcast. We started kind of coming up with ideas.
Yep.
And I go home, I go to bed, I wake up the next morning and I go, I think we decided we're starting a podcast. And so I call Matthew. I said, hey, did we decide we're doing a podcast? He's like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah. So about that, I've never actually even listened to a podcast.
And I, on the other hand, have probably watched. I follow obviously Joe Rogan. Pat McAfee is not necessarily a podcast, but he is just awesome. I love podcasts, and I think what they offer, Morning Combat, different things that I'm into. And I thought,
well, you're on the road all the time.
I am.
So I think that's a big thing. Like when you're on the road, you listen to podcasts and you go through. And I've got a 3-minute commute to the office.
That's true.
And so I just don't have a lot of time in the car. And then I just
Well, and
so,
I also go to bed alone every night. So I watch that. I'm not like you, bro.
yeah. So anyways, I said, I don't know anything about podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
How are we gonna?
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. We'll figure it out.
Well, we reached out to Mark.
So we reached out to Mark and said, Mark, we're gonna do a podcast. And I get this list.
Yep.
And it's like, here's all the equipment you need. I'm
Yep.
like, oh, we need equipment.
Yep.
and then we're like, well, who's gonna help like film this and edit this and all this kind of stuff? And enter Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan right there.
And I nicknamed him Handsome Dan.
Well, I don't know if you noticed how attractive he is.
Well, that's why I nicknamed him Handsome Dan.
Yeah.
Do it again. Turn around again. Look at this.
Look at this.
This is a handsome
face.
man.
And
he said he was going to shave and maybe cut his hair, and I said he'd be fired.
No. And what about and I mean, have you seen his abs?
I have.
I
have.
Yeah.
I've seen his abs a lot.
Have you rubbed up against them? Have you touched them?
Let's just say I'm going to plead the fifth.
Okay.
Anyways,
Handsome Dan has been an amazing addition. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but this has been one of the funnest things I've ever done.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think the idea here, sleep is so important.
Absolutely.
And I know that we're both passionate about it. And I think that America in general is becoming more aware of how important sleep is. But I think that we can still go a long way to increase that awareness. I think that not enough people have been sleep tested.
I agree.
I think that too many people snore. We got sleep divorces out there where people are sleeping in separate bedrooms and they're not in bed with their spouses. We got diabetes, heart disease. We got cancer. We got depression, anxiety.
Right.
We got so many things going on, and it all comes back to sleep.
I agree.
And health and wellness.
And one of the things that we're going to promote during this podcast is health. And I know it sounds
100%.
When someone asks me, they go, well, what is your podcast about? Well, I said, well, it's about Brandon and I's passions, right? So we talk about, we love music, we love spirits, and we love sleep. And so what we've been able to do in a very short amount of time with the guests that we've had is we've been able to go out there and not only enjoy the Texas whiskeys, beers, wines, but also we've been able to kind of bring that into the musicians that I know or the amazing physicians that we know. And this podcast is going to be out there for people that, if you've ever watched a sleep podcast, and this is no knock on all of them, this is going to be totally night and day different.
Yeah,
we laugh, we cry, we get down to it, but you know what we do? We laugh and we have fun.
Yeah.
We have fun.
No, this has been amazing. It's been so much fun. I'm so excited to launch this.
Me too, brother.
We filmed about, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes now. We've had some really cool guests.
Yep.
We've gotten to see some cool musicians and hear about what they're working on.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how much there is to sleep, because there's so many aspects. It's how do you sleep? It's have you been tested? It's the business of sleep. It's the science of sleep. There's a personal side to sleep for everybody.
I mean, in our short time, we've covered narcolepsy.
Yep.
We've covered home sleep testing, oral devices, people who grind. I mean, it is, and the musicians have been awesome, right? Finding out like their processes of music and stuff is really cool. And the live music aspect is going to be just so cool. But how are they doing this, man? I mean, they live on a whole day. You talk about our schedules being different, brother.
I'm telling you.
Night and day. I mean, they are all night owls and they're traveling, and some of them are on vans, some of them are on tour buses. Like, how are they getting through without a good night's sleep?
Well, and that good night's sleep again, and even then, do you snore? Do you have sleep apnea? All that on top of it. So, so this is cool. I'm excited to launch this.
Yep.
We're going to have musicians.
Yes.
We're going to have athletes.
Absolutely.
We're going to have nutritionists. We're going to have doctors. We're going to have scientists. We're going to have there's sleep supplements galore out there. Yep. We're going to have therapists. We're going to have people. We're going to have real life, just
industry
people.
leaders, CEOs of company. We have a CEO. Well, we're going to have a couple of them coming up, but we've already interviewed a CEO of a company. And I think it's going to give us an opportunity, and I mean all of us collectively watching this, to kind of dive into it a little bit, and every Tuesday go, wow, there's another side to this, because I think a lot of people are scared, Brandon. I mean, you're a dentist. I hate to tell you this, but people don't like going to dentists.
They don't like us.
And it's so interesting. You guys are the first that look into someone's mouth, and I'm not being funny here. You could literally look in there and ask them how they're sleeping. And it's a crazy amount of dentists that I have come in contact with the last year that don't even ask that simple question. Your model's been excellent, brother. And It is such a pleasure, and it's been so fun to do this with you, man. And I really just want to if we can affect one person each episode, that's kind of my goal.
Yep.
That says, hey, I want to sleep with my wife again.
Yep.
I want to check my health out a little bit. I want to try this wine. Hey, I want to listen to this musician. I just want to influence people. And with your help, man, it has just been awesome. And I couldn't have asked for a better co-host, a better partner for this. And I just think the world of you, brother.
Listen, I appreciate that. So what can you do is what you're wondering. And here's what you need to do. You're going to get something out of this. Like, subscribe, become a follower.
Absolutely.
There's something in it for everybody. We're going to talk about good wines, good whiskeys, good beverages.
Yep.
We're going to talk about life. You're going to get to see a lot of cool people, a lot of good interviews. It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's personal, it's intimate, and you're going to learn something. And hopefully you learn something that helps you out in your life. But if not, you'll just enjoy listening and have a good time.
And here's our goal, right? So when you're asking, two guys who think about goals and stuff and what we want out of this podcast, yes, we want effect, but we need you guys to like and subscribe. We want you guys to share this and get the word out, because it's going to change people's lives. If you're interested in becoming one of our guests or you'd like to be on here, you can also see below on the link there to check out any of our social media pages. We're on TikTok. Yes. Wow.
I'm still coming to terms with that one.
Me too. Handsome Dan says we got to be on it.
Handsome Dan.
No,
dances.
but we're on Instagram, Facebook. Like I said, this will be the YouTube page that we have. Am I missing it? Our LinkedIn page.
LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Most of these I don't even have apps on my phone for.
Right,
Alyssa's taking care of it.
It's okay, because Brandon still has a MySpace. And if you go there, it's hot lips at MySpaceUT.com, something like that.
Yeah.
But dude, I am honored to do this with you, and here's to sleeping around.
Hey, I look forward to sleeping around with you.
You got it, brother.
And a lot of people.
All right, appreciate you, brother. Bye.
Well,